Are you really safe on Tinder? These three women's experiences prove that danger can lurk behind even the most innocent-seeming dates. Story number 1. I matched with this guy on Tinder and we went on a couple of dates. The first two were pretty casual, just coffee and walks outside. I thought he was friendly, good-looking, and we seemed to really click. So when he suggested our third date should be at his place with some wine, I felt safe and comfortable enough to agree. Fast forward to the big night. I arrived at his place and he poured me a glass of wine. We were joking around and having a great conversation. But after a while, I started feeling a bit off. Now, I've been roofied before, and I recognized the symptoms immediately. I knew I had to act quickly and cleverly to get out of this dangerous situation. I pretended to feel fine and cheerfully excused myself to use the bathroom. Once inside, I locked the door and called the police. I told them I'd been drugged and was locked in the bathroom, begging them to come and rescue me. Soon after, I passed out. I woke up to the police arriving, but I was still heavily drugged and kept fading in and out of consciousness. I vaguely remember them placing a bag over my head as they carried me out there. Eventually, I was safe. A few days later, I went to the police station to give my statement. I asked them if I'd remembered correctly about the bag over my head or if it was just a side effect of the drugs. They confirmed that they had indeed put a bag over my head, explaining that they did so to prevent me from seeing what the guy had set up for me in the living room, something too traumatizing to witness. Thankfully, the guy's now in jail, and I still don't know what he had planned for me. But it's clear that this was a horrific and potentially life-threatening situation. So please, always let someone know when you're going on a Tinder date, even if you feel safe and even if it's not your first date. Have a friend call and check up on you during and after the date to ensure your safety. Story 2. When I first moved to the city, I didn't know many people, so I thought I'd give Tinder a try to meet some new friends or maybe find a date. I matched with this guy, and we seemed to hit it off right away. His profile looked good, and our conversations were interesting, so I agreed to meet him for coffee. We met up at a cute little cafe, and at first, everything seemed fine. But as the date went on, he started asking some oddly specific questions about where I lived and worked, which made me a bit uncomfortable. I brushed it off, thinking he was just trying to find common ground. After our date, we exchanged a few more messages, but something felt off, so I decided to cut off communication. That's when things took a terrifying turn. He started sending me messages constantly, even after I told him I wasn't interested. He'd leave voicemails, send texts, and even comment on my social media posts. I blocked him on every platform I could think of, but he just kept finding ways to contact me. One night, I was walking home from work, and I noticed someone was following me. My heart raced, and I realized it was him. I ducked into a store and called a friend to pick me up. But this was just the beginning of his stalking. He would show up at my workplace, leaving me notes and flowers. I informed my boss and coworkers about the situation, and they were supportive. But it didn't seem to deter him. I filed a restraining order and moved to a new apartment, hoping that would put an end to the nightmare. But one day, I received a package at my new address, and inside was a letter from him, detailing how he would always find me. I was terrified and immediately contacted the police. They took the situation seriously and managed to track him down. He was arrested and charged with stalking and harassment. I've since changed my phone number, deleted all my social media accounts, and have become very cautious about sharing personal information. Story 3. I matched with this guy on Tinder, and he seemed really cool. His profile pictures were attractive, and our conversation was flowing nicely. We decided to meet up at a local bar for a couple of drinks. When I arrived at the bar, I saw him right away. He looked just like his pictures, so I was pretty excited. We sat down and started chatting, but after a while, he began acting strangely. He started asking me odd questions, like if I had any family living nearby and whether I had any roommates. Feeling a bit uncomfortable, I tried to steer the conversation back to lighter topics. However, he insisted on taking our drinks to go and suggested that we take a walk in a nearby park. I hesitated, but agreed, thinking it might be nice to get some fresh air. As we were walking through the park, I noticed that he kept glancing around, almost as if he was looking for someone. Suddenly, a van pulled up next to us, and before I knew what was happening, two men jumped out and tried to grab me. I fought back as hard as I could, screaming for help. My date just stood there, watching with a sinister smile on his face. It was clear that he was in on it, and I was being targeted for a kidnapping. By some miracle, a passerby heard my screams and rushed to help. The kidnappers, realizing that they had been caught, quickly jumped back into the van and sped away, leaving me and my date behind. The police were called, and my date was arrested. It turned out he had been involved in several kidnappings, using Tinder as a way to lure victims. I was lucky to escape with my life, and I'll never forget how close I came to a nightmare I might never have escaped from. These stories serve as a reminder that while Tinder and other dating apps can be a great way to meet new people, they can also be risky. It's important to always prioritize your safety and take precautions when meeting someone new. If you have any doubts or feel uncomfortable at any point, don't hesitate to trust your instincts and seek help. Remember to like and subscribe to our channel for more content like this, and stay safe out there.